Huh? That's odd. There's nobody here. The picture's gone now. The measuring cork must have been here, then. I laid out the floor B map. They must have taken a door that faces a warehouse. After that, they probably went through a warehouse and out of a blue door to the elevator. Yeah, that's much shorter route. On the other hand, I came through a red door, which is kind of a long way around. So I managed to miss each other perfectly. Well, this was a huge waste of time. Shoot, might as well head back, I suppose. I backed up her map and was headed toward the door, man. Huh? There was a light on where there hadn't been a light before. What? Why is that thing on? I messed with it earlier, but nothing seemed to work. I felt a sudden wave of inexplicable nauseating dread. The light stared at me. I swallowed and edged cautiously toward it. The machine was in arm's reach now. I stretched my hand toward it slowly.
So, you finally made it.
So, you're finally awake. You were trying to get across the border, right? Like us, and that horse thief over there. No, you're...
I am Zero. I was the one who brought you here.
Is that Santa? Why is he old?
You undoubtedly have as many questions for me as there are stars in the sky.
I don't know that guy. Who the hell is that guy? And why does he look so ridiculous? He's like a supervillain. No, he's like second supervillain. Like there's a big bad guy, and there's a guy who's like under him. He looks like that guy.
As you can see, however, this is only a recording. I will therefore be unable to directly answer any questions. Ask if you wish, but I cannot respond.
Considered taking a swing at him, but decided that it was spectacularly futile, and kept my bold fist at my side.
Now, where to begin? There are many things I wish to tell you, but unfortunately, our time is limited. As such, the information I can provide is also limited. I have chosen two things of great importance to tell you.
God damn, I don't like listening to that guy. He doesn't even have a Cockney accent.
First, I will tell you about termites.
Strange thing to talk about, but okay.
In retrospect, I suppose that's a rather odd thing to say.
Yeah, you don't say.
I imagine you look rather bewildered right now. Perfectly understandable. The person who kidnapped you and threatened you with death is lecturing you about insects. I suspect it hardly seems fair. Nonetheless, this is very important. In a way, it will determine your fate. So I ask that you listen carefully. Have you ever seen a termite mound? They are splendid structures. Some might even call them works of art. Termites are natural architects, and their mounds are both structurally sound and make excellent use of space.
All I know about them is that they are like really asshole ants who just ruin everything. Like they eat through your summer house and ruin everything.
So, are they following some sort of plan as they build? Are there termite blueprints detailing which room goes where? No, of course not. Each termite is simply an oblivious cog in a tremendous machine programmed by millions of years of termite DNA. It is doubtful an individual termite has any idea what its contributions are helping to create, but a human does. We can appreciate the elegant forms of their alien cathedrals. We can see the simple beauty of their perfect functionality.
I wouldn't go that far, but okay.
We can understand the splendid planning of their structure. In other words, only an intelligence of a higher order understand the beauty of what the termite builds. Now, consider humans. Why are we alive? Why do we love and give birth? Why do we create? From where do our cultures spring? There are many theories, but no one knows the truth. We are oblivious cogs in a tremendous machine programmed by millions of years of human DNA. No doubt you see now what this analogy is supposed to illustrate.
No, I don't. It's like you could have picked any animal for that.
Yes, I mean to say humans are not different from termites. We trudge through our lives with no greater understanding of our ultimate goal. You might say we don't understand what we're building. Only an intelligence of a higher order than ours can understand what we're doing. Imagine how we might look to such an intelligence.
Oh, that perspective. Okay, yeah, that is interesting.
We may be building some structure so perfect and elegant, we can't even perceive it. Whatever it is, we've likely been building it on a dimension just above the ones we know since time immemorial. If we are like the termites, then what we've created is almost certainly something of tremendous beauty.
I wouldn't go that far.
And you are about to catch a glimpse of it. Or have you already? Well, that's enough on that subject, I think. Consider what I've said. Now, let's move on to the second topic.
This didn't tell me anything.
It is somewhat more immediately meaningful to your life, and, in fact, the lives of several billion other people. I realize this is rather sudden, but I have a password for you. It is the password to disarm the bomb, numbered 1. Are you ready? I will only say this once, so pay close attention. The password to disarm the number 1 bomb is BQZ RGJ DXR.
I had no idea what he was talking about. What bomb? Was he saying there were bombs too? He had guessed at my future confusion. He showed no sign of it.
That is the last of the information this message was meant to convey. Before I go, however, I have a warning. You cannot tell any of your companions what you heard or saw here. If you do, you will be penalized immediately. I hope we will meet again someday. We would have much to discuss.
Wait, goddamn, you can just spell it all that crap and disappear? I found myself yelling at empty air. The hologram had disappeared. Kind of an idiot does he take me for? Termites? Other dimensions? How could that have anything to do with kidnapping us? Shit. Kicked out a nearby shelf.
10 minutes remain until all play. If no...
Yeah. Ah, crap. I need to go back. Not like there's any point staying here. Spun around and ran out of the room toward the warehouse.
Grandpa! Look! Mr. Sigma's back!
Took you long enough.
I was looking for you, you ungrateful dinks. How about
In the
us?
AB rooms.
They went already? Why didn't you too? Have you been waiting for me?
Yeah! Grandpa said there was something he had to tell you before we voted, no matter what.
Oh.
Nothing that significant. Just wanted to tell you we're going to choose ally this round. That's it.
You bastard. It's like saying you're gonna throw rock and rock, paper, scissors. It's mind games. And you had to tell me that no matter what. Seems kinda pointless. I mean, what's it cheap? You can promise whatever you want.
True, but we've got something to back it up. Just hear me out.
Okay, go ahead.
Quark and I both have 8 BP. We're already on the home stretch. So what do we need to get to the magic number? Well, we need you to choose ally. If you do that, it doesn't really matter to us what we pick.
You get 9 whatever you get 2 or 3 points.
Exactly. That being the case, we don't have any reason to betray you. And if we both choose ally, we both gain points.
True, but you must have considered what I would choose betray. That would mean you'd choose betray to protect yourselves.
That's why we're telling you we won't choose betray.
Mm-hmm.
Can I trust you?
Of course.
Yeah, see, if I ally, the engine is probably gonna be a lot longer, so I'm gonna go with betray first and then I'm gonna ally. Alright, tell me one thing. Let's just say we do this in both ally. Everybody gets 2 points. That means you and Quark will have enough to leave, which is great for you. And I'll be stuck with a measly 5. How do I know you aren't going to just open the number 9 door and leave us in a lurch?
I can guarantee it. I
How?
can give you my word. I will not open the number 9 door, even if I have enough points to do so. I swear it. We aren't going to abandon everybody else just so we can escape.
Is Hugh a man to talk to? Hold up.
I
Okay.
swear too. I promise.
Man, so all you got is a promise,
When I
huh?
make a promise, I keep it. Trust me.
Please! You've gotta trust us!
I think you broke your promise in the past, didn't you? You promised something to Clover when you broke it. I could have sworn. Alright, fine. I'll trust you.
2 minutes remain until Ambidex game polling closes.
We're counting on you, Sigma.
You gotta choose ally! You promised!
I didn't promise you anything. The vet we turned and ran into the AB room second from the right. Well, I guess I should get moving. Okay, yeah. First betray, then ally.
One minute remains until Ambidex game polling closes.
I had a decision to make. Should I trust Quark and Tenmiyoji? Well, I could believe they were telling the truth and still betray them. That would bring my BP to 6. I'd be that much closer to 9. And choosing betray would guarantee that they wouldn't try and escape without the rest of us. Betrayal seemed like a safe bet, but...
Please! You've gotta trust us! You've gotta choose ally! You promised!
I didn't promise anything. Tenmiyoji I could betray easily enough, but Quark? What the hell was I going to do?
10 seconds.
Yeah.
Nine,
Betray. No,
eight,
betray, but yeah.
7,
Get it. Just
5, 4,
Announcer,
3,
please!
2, 1.
Blink. You've been blinked.
Round 3 of the Ambidex game has been completed. Results. Thank you.
Yes. I wish you could just skip past the stuff which is always the same. Or just not have them appear in the first place.
Results from round 3 of the Ambidex game will now be displayed. Please direct your attention to the results screen.
Okay, I'm kinda curious what Harvest chose. Of course the dickhead did that. Oh my goodness! They betrayed? Okay, my feelings are a little hurt.
Points have been assigned.
I wanted to ally.
Or
I
subtracted
did betray just
accordingly.
for completionist's sake.
Please check.
But... The hell?
Quark had nothing to do with it. I entered the vote.
So why do you choose betray?
Couldn't I ask you the same thing? I don't really think this is the time for a fight, though.
I mean, yeah, I would kick your ass.
Look, Clover's over by the door.
Oh, what? Oh no. You dumb dits.
Oh, the number 9 door.
Fuck, she opened it.
Ugh!
I love how Kay's like, the number 9 door. That is unfortunate.
Why? Clover, wait!
Clover, what the hell do you think you're doing?
I'm going to call the others.
What?
Justice for Alice.
Justice? Wait, do you mean...
The number 9 building.
Yeah.
Time for me to go. No! Please, Clover, wait!
Like hell, I'm just gonna let you walk out of here.
Dio laughed at Clover, his fists raised. Clover easily avoided him and moved toward the door.
Goodbye.
I mean, I'm kinda happy he got screwed, but... I got one last glimpse of her face as she slid through the door. It was a mask of ice. My neck is dying. And the door gets closed yet again.
The number this thank you as the escape please.
So does it just end right here, or is there some talking? Yeah, there we go. That's what I was waiting for. Yeah, that's why a big betray. It seems like every time you betray, even it's like ending, it's gonna be a really, really quick ending. Okay, so we're done. Gonna get to the same thing. And ally. So I'm assuming we're gonna go with Clover. But how exactly is that gonna play out is what I'm curious about.
1 minute.
Okay, yeah, all the same.
Please!
Ah, jeez. Okay, ally.
Results from please
Okay, does he still betray? Like, I'm 90% sure he's gonna betray me again, but we'll see. Okay, the same, the same. Haha, yep.
points have been assigned, or please check your bracelet.
Oh, I'm sorry again. Hey, what the hell, guys? Why do you betray
Quark
me?
had nothing to do with this. I made the vote.
Grandpa.
Alright, fine. Why'd you break your promise,
I
Tenmiyoji?
only promised you one thing. We wouldn't open the number 9 door, even if we got 9 points.
What? So, you're not going to leave?
Not what I said. Of course we're going to leave.
What?
Look, see Clover over there?
What? Don't tell me... Oh, you fucking lawyer. I mean, he's correct, he didn't open the door. Ah, you old fart.
Oh no.
Jeez.
That bitch!
Wait. Quark and Tenmiyoji have...
The words were barely out of her mouth when Tenmiyoji and Quark ran past.
No! God damn it!
Now screw yourself, Dio, come on.
Clover, are you really going to leave? Well, yeah.
Well, yeah. What do you think?
Why else would I open the door?
I mean, fair point.
But why?
I'm going to go call the others, so we can capture Zero Senior.
Tenmiyoji, are you and Quark going too?
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Sorry, everybody.
Why'd you betray me, though?
So, Sigma, happy?
No?
Kept my promise.
You dick.
Clover opened the door, not me.
Like hell I'm happy. That's some shady shit, Tenmiyoji.
Say so. I have to get out of here, and that's that.
You goddamn old fart.
He's gotta pay for what he's done.
He?
Zero.
You mean you know who Zero Senior is?
Yeah. No point keeping it a secret now, I suppose.
Finally some
I know
answers.
exactly who Zero Senior is.
What?
Well, say it!
The number 9. It will.
Yeah.
Let's go. Come on, guys. Time to move.
Right.
Oh, wait! This is for you, Mr. Sigma.
Quark held something out. I looked down to see 2 pieces of folded paper. What is this?
It's a letter. I wrote it in the director's office before the AB game. I wanted to tell you what kind of guy Grandpa is. So, read it, okay?
He pressed it against it into my hand.
See you later, Mr. Sigma.
And so, who is your senior? Just say it. When he turned and ran toward the door, Tenmiyoji and Clover followed in his footsteps. I was so surprised by the letter that I didn't even try to stop them. Before I could think of anything to say.
See you.
Goodbye.
Finish the sentence, Tenmiyoji. Finish what you were saying. You old bastard.
The number 9. This. Thank you. As the gate escape, please.
You're not gonna end, right? Let me read the letter.
Shit! They're gone.
All we can do now is hope they bring help back.
Indeed.
I agree.
I looked down at Quark's letter and slowly unfolded it. His handwriting was slightly uneven, but he'd filled both pages of writing. I began to read. It was a really stormy day when he found me. He said the rain was coming down so hard it almost hurt, but somehow he managed to hear a baby crying. I guess I must have been crying pretty loud. He took me home and did his best to raise me, but he'd never been married or had a kid before, so I think it was really hard for him. He couldn't figure out how to mix the formula, so he was always carrying the directions around with him. Also, I guess I was a pretty picky eater, so if he didn't get the water to formula ratio just right, I wouldn't eat it. I guess it was kind of a pain, huh? But he didn't give up, and now here I am. When he found me, I was really small, and he was worried that I might not make it. That's why he named me Quark. Quark is a really small thing, and I was really small too. Grandpa didn't need to worry, though, because it turned out that I was pretty tough. When I was 1, he forgot I was sleeping in the bed of his truck and drove off. I rolled out and went off the back, but I didn't even get scratched. I started walking when I was 2, and when he wasn't looking I fell down the stairs. I didn't get hurt then either. When I was 3 I got really sick. I had a super high fever for a week, but eventually I got better. I guess you could say I'm pretty lucky. Anyway, I didn't really have any more accidents after that, and I was a pretty healthy kid. By the time I was 6, I'd started helping Grandpa out with his work. His job was to gather junk from the abandoned buildings. Then he'd fix it up or pull out the useful parts and sell them. There were plenty of abandoned buildings, but finding good stuff in them was hard. You had to know which parts were useful, or you would end up wasting a bunch of time. Every time I'd find something, he'd explain to me what it was, and how it was supposed to work, how to fix it, all sorts of things. Usually though, I just wanted to finish up work, so I could go to the theater. The theater came to our town once a week in a wagon. We'd show old news and movies. I went every single week, but Grandpa only went once in a while, and he'd only go weeks when they showed movies. Oh yeah, I didn't know that I'd been adopted until I was 7. One of the other kids on the block told me. I guess after Grandpa found me, he looked all over town to try and find somebody who'd take me. The kid from my block actually had a mom, and he'd asked her if she could take me too. I gotta admit I was pretty shocked when I heard that. There weren't a lot of kids with parents around, so hearing that someone lived with his actual mom was pretty impressive. I was also kind of surprised that Grandpa had tried to get someone else to take me. Did that mean he didn't want me? The kid who told me about Grandpa trying to get rid of me was a real jerk. He was totally spoiled, and he'd brag to everyone about how he had a mom. He liked to come up to me while I was working and say stuff like, "Must have been hard not having a mother." It never bothered me before, but after I found out that Grandpa had adopted me, I started to think that maybe he didn't really want me. If I could work on my own, then he could get rid of me. I was scared to know the truth, so I never asked him. Then one day he took me to a bar in our neighborhood. During the day, of course. He went there sometimes to drink scotch, but I'd never gone before. When we got in, he just walked up to the counter with the grumpy look he has, and I thought, oh no, he's gonna make me work here. But I was wrong. I saw him pass something to a bartender, and then he picked me up and sat me down on a stool next to the counter. The stool was pretty high, especially for a 7-year-old kid, and my legs just dangled off of it. It seemed really, really high to me, and I was pretty nervous. Eventually the bartender came back, over with a glass of scotch and another big glass full of something else. As I looked closer, I realized that the second glass was full of some sort of brown liquid with a scoop of ice cream in it. It took me a minute to realize what it was. A root beer float. I'd never seen one before. I was so surprised. Root beer was even more expensive than the nicest alcohol in the bar. To me and the other kids, it seemed more like an urban legend than a real drink. But there it was, right in front of me. I started to float. I still wasn't sure it was a real point. It was real at that point, and then turned to look at Grandpa. He looked back at me. I didn't know what to do, so I turned to the bartender. He'd already turned around and moved off, though, so I figured he must have put the glass down in front of me on purpose. It still didn't seem like it could be real, and I was just staring at it when Grandpa told me to hurry up and drink it before the ice cream melted. His gruff voice sounded like an angel's. Is this really mine? He nodded. Words can't describe how awesome it was. I'd never tasted anything like root beer before. The creamy sweetness of the ice cream made my entire head feel light. I felt like the luckiest boy in the whole world. It's not an exaggeration, I really thought that. The root beer float was delicious, but what made me even happier was Grandpa. When I looked over at him, he was smiling. I know that's gotta be hard for you to imagine, but he really was. Right when I didn't care whether he just found me and adopted me or not. He bought me a root beer float. That made me way luckier than some kid who had a mother but never tasted root beer. Because after we left the bar, he was the first kid I bragged to. So Grandpa and I were doing pretty good, until the fight. I was in a super bad mood that day. I tore one of my shoes this morning, and some old drunk guy had yelled at me. All the junk I found was totally useless. The day was almost over and I was fed up, so I just grabbed some random trash and took it back to the house. When I showed what I found to Grandpa, he frowned. He started going through each thing I brought back, explaining why they were all useless. I got really mad and just yelled, "I don't care." Then he got mad and I couldn't take it anymore, so I ran away. I was pretty upset and I started thinking of what maybe Grandpa had only adopted me so he could raise me to work and make money for him. After a while I went and hid in an abandoned building, but by then I started to calm down and think that maybe I should go back and apologize. It had started raining pretty hard though, so I decided I should wait for it to stop. But that was just an excuse. The truth was that I was nervous. Part of me knew I'd done something wrong, but I didn't want to admit it. Rain didn't stop though, so I just sat there staring out at the gloomy grey sky. I imagined Grandpa coming to get me. It kept raining all night and he never showed up. I gave up waiting and decided it was time to go home. I was about halfway there when I heard somebody groaning. At first I thought I should just ignore it and not get involved, but I went over anyway and it was Grandpa. He was totally soaked and I could tell right away that he'd been there for a really long time. I yelled and he opened his eyes a little bit. He smiled weakly and said he was glad I was safe. He spent all night out in the rain, looking for me. I felt awful. Grandpa had been out in the rain looking for me so long he'd collapsed. I was horrible. He heard me crying in the rain, but I hadn't heard him. As I ran to get the doctor, I promised whenever God might be listening that if they would only save Grandpa, I'd never ask for another root beer float again. He got real bad fever and his temperature wouldn't go down for days. The doctor said that if it kept up, he'd die. If he died, then I'd be all alone. There wouldn't be anybody left to care about me. The thought of that happening terrified me. Fortunately, I must have passed some of my luck on to Grandpa, because a week later his fever finally broke. I was glad he wasn't going to die, but I was also a little scared. What if he had decided he didn't want a stupid kid like me around anymore? My plan was to apologize as soon as he woke up, but when the moment came, my brain just stopped. Grandpa started to talk, and it took me a minute to realize he was apologizing. I didn't know what to think. He explained that he was an old man and what he meant, and that meant he was probably going to die sooner rather than later. He was strict with me because he wanted to make sure I'd be able to make it on my own after he was gone, but maybe he'd been a little too strict. Oh my fucking god. I'm getting a clump in my throat. All the things I'd worried about had been stupid and selfish. Grandpa cared about me a whole lot. He'd been worried when I ran off, and he'd gone out into the rain to look for me. Ah, god, I'm seriously holding back tears right now. I tried to apologize, but when I opened my mouth, I just started crying. I don't think I've cried that much since I was a baby. But he just smiled and patted my head. I asked him if he'd ever regretted adopting me. His eyes got all wide and he said, of course not. He told me what he was looking for a really important lady, and because of that, he'd had to give up on pretty much everything else in his life. But when he took me in and started raising me, he felt like he'd gotten some of what he lost back. That was when I decided I'd stay with him forever, even if he said I couldn't. No, it was Tenmiyoji. Okay then. Huh.